Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a special online event today. It's called Soul Regression and Channeled Wisdom for a Peaceful, Meaningful, and Love-Filled Life. Explore your pre-birth plan, your ability to alter it, and how your soul helps you evolve. My name is Stephen Dinan. I'm the founder of the Shift Network, and I am so delighted to be with you here today because we're getting to explore the further reaches of our soul intentions for being here, which is really connected to the mission of the Shift Network, which is a spiritual awakening. And when we awaken to our soul mission, we become better vehicles for manifesting the changes we're here to create. And the two featured faculty members here today are really been at the forefront of this investigation in a really deep way. We have Rob Schwartz, who's really a leader in the Between Lives soul regression hypnotist, and Liesl Fricke, who's a channel for the beings of light. And together they have really unified a kind of a blend of science and practice that really takes you into a deep understanding of who you are, why you're here, and what you're ultimately here to create with the intentions that your soul designed. So with that said, welcome Rob and Liesl.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a privilege.
Well, you two are both remarkable beings who have been willing to go so far outside the mainstream paradigm and really explore realms of spirit and soul that are, frankly thought of as esoteric in a lot of circles, but really can illumine our paths in a new way. So I'd first love for you to share a little bit of backstory about what propelled you on this path. And let's start with Rob.
Well, what happened for me was that I was actually in the corporate sector for a number of years, basically doing corporate marketing and communications. I found that work to be very, very unfulfilling and basically had an existential crisis in regard to my life. And in order to resolve that, I took some very unusual steps. The first thing I did was I had a session with a psychic medium. Now, mediumship is not part of my background, and I wasn't even sure if I believed in it, but nothing else was helping me to figure out what to do with my life. So I went into this session with the medium, and right away she said to me, "Your spirit guides are here." I said, "What is a spirit guide?" I'd actually never even heard the term before. She explained to me what it was. And then she said, "Your guides would like to speak directly with you." And she started to channel them. And the first thing they said to me was, "You planned your life, including your biggest challenges, before you were born." And I'll tell you, I just shook my head and I said, "Well, why in the world would I have done something like that?" And they said, "You did this for purposes of spiritual growth." Now, I might have dismissed all of this as some kind of delusion on my part, except that they then launched into this long monologue about why I had planned my challenges. And the thing that was really compelling is that they knew what all of them were without me telling them anything about myself. So this really rocked my world, so to speak. And I came out of that session looking at life in a totally different way. And what that did for me really was that it created quite a deep healing, because it allowed me for the very first time to see deeper meaning or deeper purpose to my biggest challenges. Then I thought, well, if this kind of perspective can create this kind of healing for me, surely it can do the same for other people. That was when I first started to think about writing a book on the subject. And then just a couple weeks after that session with the medium, I had what to this day is still the most profound spiritual experience I've ever had. I was doing nothing more than walking down the sidewalk in the middle of the afternoon. And I had an experience in which I felt overwhelming, pure, unconditional love for every person I saw. And to call it unconditional love really doesn't do justice to it. It's beyond words to describe what I felt. But every time I looked at another person, this feeling of overwhelming, unconditional love would wash over me. And I understood as this was happening that it was my soul basically saying to me, "This love is who you really are. This is your true nature." And I believe that my soul gifted me with that experience that day, because much later, when I looked at many people's pre-birth plans for my 3 books, I found that every plan was based on unconditional love for every person involved. And without having had that experience walking down the street that day, I would have no way of knowing that what I was finding in my research was actually true. But I know it's true because of that experience. So the combination of the session with the medium and that experience of myself as pure unconditional love, that launched me into the direction of writing books about pre-birth planning.
Well, it's a remarkable backstory. And Liesl, I'd love to hear yours as well.
So my background is in physics and theater and art, a lot of different things in my background. But I think what has been my greatest teacher in life and what has been the greatest gift for me is actually the challenges that I have faced, in particular with really severe OCD. I, at one point, was suffering so greatly from OCD that I was essentially barely functional in life. Everything provoked anxiety and difficulty for me. And as a result, I had to go beyond my personality, go beyond my mental and emotional conditioning in order to just survive. I had to call on something greater, and through the help of a very gifted therapist and mindfulness techniques and meditation and prayer, I opened deeply to my higher self that's also connected to oneness, to the greatest source of information for me. And I started invoking this in my daily life and using this as a means to live my daily life, because I didn't have the luxury of counting on just what my mind said, but because honestly, my mind was a little crazy. And as a result, as I continued that expansion and continued that connection, more and more energies came in, and I connected more and more to energies that live or reside in this state of unity consciousness, that are connected at the point of your higher self. And these messages started coming through, particularly when the pandemic started, because that was that resurfaced some of my OCD, because my OCD was very germ focused. So you can only imagine what a global pandemic would do to make that reignite. So I went back in, called on my higher self, and just opened more and more. And these beings of light, as Rob and I call them now, began to send these messages. And over the last 2 years, I've opened more and more to them, and they're just really powerful and profound. They're things that I know I wouldn't have the capability to write myself. And the beings of light also share these really powerful meditations that actually they've begun to they call them now immersions. And they just really bring you into that deep, deep state where you can access love and wisdom from your own soul, from these other loving souls that are just absolutely surrounding the earth right now and wanting all of the earth and all of humanity to ascend into the light.
Well, it's very reassuring to hear your experience of that. And let's go, Rob, back to you. And you've talked a little bit about the importance of this pre-birth planning that you started to tap into with the various books you were doing, and really discovering the deeper intention around love and wisdom at the root of that. But let's talk really specifically. So what have you seen as sort of the general pattern, like how do we go about planning an incarnation, drawing from all this research you've done, and then how do we each individually access that deeper plan?
Well, basically what happens, as I understand it, is that your soul creates a life plan in consultation with spirit guides, angels, ascended masters, and God or source, or whatever term you would like to use. And then the soul presents the life plan to the personality, which is a portion of the soul's energy. At that point, the vast majority of personalities agree to the plan, and then they go ahead and incarnate. There's a very small percentage who start to experience human emotions like fear or doubt. If you express fear or doubt that the plan is perhaps a little too difficult, then you are reassured by your guides and your soul that it is for your highest good. At that point, the vast majority of people who express doubt will agree to the plan and then incarnate. But there's a small percentage of those who express doubt who continue to express doubt. And if you say you think this is too much, then the plan is amended until it's acceptable to you. So bottom line, nobody is forced to do anything that they don't want to do. It's always by consent. Now, in terms of the planning of challenges, there are a number of reasons why we do that, balancing and releasing karma, healing, service to others, experiencing contrast, and correcting false beliefs or false feelings about ourselves. But if you take those 5 main reasons for planning difficult experiences and distill them down, there's a common denominator. The common denominator is that we are learning how to more freely and more fully give and receive love. And give and receive are equally important. From your soul's perspective, it's not sufficient just to come into body and give love to other people. Receiving love is half of the equation. So the challenges are essentially intended to cultivate different expressions of love that I refer to as divine virtues, and we'll talk more about those later. There are things like compassion, patience, empathy. You decide which virtues you want to work on, and then the life plan is built around those virtues.
Really important to note is that there are actually a multitude of life plans. And as you raise your vibration and as you commit to evolving consciously, to consciously work on cultivating these divine virtues, you can start to invoke higher vibrational life plans that are based more in joy and love, and move out of those vibrational plans that might be based more in learning through pain and contrast.
So so we're not like locked in so much to like it has to unfold in a particular way. It's really about fulfilling the intention maybe in the most graceful way possible. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's really about your vibration. And you will access a life plan that is in correspondence to your vibration. But if you can, and that life plan is then meant to help you evolve and move up in your vibration. But if you move your vibration, if you evolve consciously, then you can move up and start accessing higher level life plans without having to go through some of the events in the lower level life plans, if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. So Rob, you see that as well, that you can kind of choose your destiny path based upon how well you're lifting your overall frequency?
Yeah, basically the question you want to ask whenever you have to make any kind of decision, whether big or small, if you ask yourself the question, what would love do now? And when I say love, I mean with a capital L. Whatever the answer to that question is, if you do that, you'll put yourself on the higher vibrational life paths, which, as Liesl said, the learning is done more through peace, love, and joy, and much less through pain and suffering.
One thing we kind of jumped right into some of what you've discovered. I'd love for maybe set a little context of how you came to a lot of the information in the 3 books and the sort of the generalizations, just like how do you access this from within clients?
Well, in the first 2 books, I collaborated with some gifted mediums and channels who in one way or another could access information about a person's pre-birth plan. One of the mediums hears the conversations we have with each other in the pre-birth planning sessions. Another one is very gifted at channeling a person's higher self. Another one is gifted at talking to the deceased. Another channels angels and spirit guides. So in one way or another, they all have a means of accessing this kind of information. Now, in the new book, the 3rd book that came out last year, it's a combination of sessions with mediums and channels and the form of hypnosis I practice, which is called a between lives soul regression. In that kind of session, the client goes to talk with their council of elders, and they can ask any question they want about their life plan. Why did they plan something? How are they doing in terms of fulfilling the plan? And how they can better fulfill the plan.
So that's something you can do at any time in your journey and just keep circling back, asking more questions?
You can, although I would say most people find that experience to be so thorough, so detailed, that they don't need another one for usually a number of years. The amount of information you can access is really quite amazing.
And Liesl, I'd love for you to share a little bit how the channeling also works with what Rob is saying as well.
Well, the beings of light have shared a lot of meditations or deep immersions that also help you get into a state where you can access some of this information, where you can get first in alignment with your higher self, because that's your doorway, that's your soul. And then from that space, you can open to connections with really any part of unity consciousness. So any being that is in a loving and light-filled vibration. So you can get a lot of information, really all the information that you need through these very powerful meditations.
And is pretty much everybody able to access those beings of light as you have, or is it sort of you need to develop some special capacities to do so?
Well, again, I think it is really key and pivotal that you be able to first get in contact with your own higher self and that energy of source that is within you, because you're not going to be able to connect from your personality, from your mental, emotional self. So that is really vital. But I will say that, as time has gone on, the sense of all of the beings that make up the beings of light has just grown and grown and grown. There are so many loving and light-filled beings that are surrounding the planet right now and really wanting to help all of us evolve and ascend in really this very critical time. So certainly there is openness in the collective of the beings of light, and so many light-filled energies to make connection with you. So there just needs to be an openness and emptiness inside for you to be able to make that connection. It's basically getting your personality out of the way.
So Rob, going back to you, is sort of, so how, do you also see the same constellation of kind of more unified game plans at this critical moment? Maybe share a little bit about what you've seen in terms of our collective intention working together to navigate this more existential moment.
Well, my understanding is that there are actually 3 times as many souls as available bodies. So in order to be incarnate right now, you had to have something to offer the ascension process. So you had to make a 1 in 3 cut. And the way that decision was made was that you had to have something to offer the ascension process. So, our world is filled with people who feel small, weak, powerless, insignificant, helpless. Actually, nothing could be further from the truth. Those who were selected have something in particular to offer this ascension process. And it's things like courage, experience doing this kind of ascension work on other planets, other worlds. The beings who were selected to be here now are among the most courageous and the strongest in the entire universe.
That's very reassuring. So I'd love to, maybe for folks who are not as familiar with the term ascension process, Lisa, let's explain a little bit by what you understand the ascension process for us collectively. What's it really about?
It's really about lifting the vibration of all of humanity from a mentality of separation into a mentality of connection, into that unity consciousness, into a kind of hive mind where the well-being of the whole is considered inherently in every decision that every human being makes. And we're in the thick of it, so to speak, right now. And one thing that I really want to convey to people is that there is no small shift in your vibration or no small act of transformation that you can make. Every act of raising your vibration, every act of loving kindness in the world, every little act of transformation has the effect of rippling out and magnifying and magnifying and magnifying as it goes. So, you might think that, oh, I'm not making a big difference. But if you're just doing even small things, if you're just holding the frequency of love and light in the world, that is huge and extremely powerful.
Beautiful. And Rob, circling back to the concept you mentioned earlier around divine virtues. So how do the divine virtues connect in with this ascension intention?
So I should start by explaining where the divine virtues came from. When I worked with the medium who goes into people's pre-birth planning sessions, we heard the conversations people were having with their future parents, children, friends, romantic partners, employers, enemies, if they were planning to have enemies. And in these conversations, I noticed over a period of years that when big challenges were being planned, a lot of the discussion at the soul level revolved around the soul's desire to cultivate and then express, while in body, certain qualities that are very important to the soul. And I gave these qualities the name divine virtues. And over a period of years, I put together a list of the ones that came up the most often. I think there are now 28 on the list. And again, there are things like unconditional love, patience, empathy, compassion, and so forth. These are all specific manifestations of love. And this is what the ascension process is all about. As people cultivate and express the virtues, they're elevating the vibration of the human race. They're elevating the vibration of the entire planet. And eventually, we will be a race of beings who are in unity consciousness, like the beings of light that Liesl channels.
Well, you two are so articulate and inspiring, and I want to also give us a chance to dive into the meditation that I know you brought through specifically for this event today.
This is channeled directly from the beings of light, and it's just this beautiful way to help you open and shift your perspective into understanding more of what life is really about.
So if everybody would close your eyes, please. Take a few deep, slow breaths. This meditation, along with the cadence of my voice, can take you rather deep, rather quickly. So, you should not listen to this meditation while driving or performing any other potentially dangerous activity. Also, you need to be in a quiet room where you can safely close your eyes. Take a moment to get settled. Begin by bringing the body into a comfortable position for you. This can be sitting or laying down, though sitting may be preferable for this particular meditation. If possible, allow for the feet to be touching one another. If it is not possible or comfortable to have your feet touching one another, then just imagine a bond of white light between both feet. Now, place the left hand directly over the heart and the right hand right below the navel, with the thumb touching the navel. This creates a biocircuit in the body. Become aware of your breathing, and as you breathe in, bring your awareness more fully into your body. As you breathe out, allow all tension to dissolve. Breathing in slowly and breathing out even more slowly. Gently breathing in, gently breathing out. Bring your awareness inside your body. Notice the 2 points of contact of the hands to the body. Feel the warmth generated there. Feel the love that the body has for itself. Feel the love emanating from your hands and being received and then amplified by your body and returned to the hands. Now, bring your awareness to the soles of your feet. Through your feet, breathe in the beautiful, vibrant, golden light of the earth, of Gaia. See and feel her golden essence entering through the soles of your feet, traveling up your legs and into your torso, saturating your torso with her golden, radiant energy that completely nourishes all your cells. Her beautiful energy continues flowing and moves into your arms and out through the palms of your hands. Also into your neck and head, and up to your crown chakra at the top of your head. Now, fully bring your attention to this area at the top of your head and open your crown chakra to receive a beautiful column of pure white light, divine energy. This pure essence of being fills your body, entering through the top of your head, following the natural rhythm of your breath, moving more deeply within you with each inhalation, flowing down into your torso and filling all of your torso with divine white light. Then flowing into your arms and out through the palms of your hands, into your legs and out through the soles of your feet. All of your body is now saturated both with the golden life force energy of Mother Earth and with the white light energy of the heavens. All of your cells feel loved and protected and completely nourished. Now, bring your awareness to your heart chakra. Feel the saturation of the beautiful golden earth energy and the brilliant white light energy of the heavens swirling together. From this place of profound support, with your heart open and brimming with the love essence of the heavens and the earth, I want you to begin to take a journey with me into a new perspective on your life. I'm going to start by asking you some questions. See if you can allow your heart to form the answers. What if everything that has seemingly gone wrong in your life was perfectly designed for your evolution and growth? What if your soul desires to fully express the love that you are, the love that is the fundamental nature of you? What if your soul wishes you to know yourself as this love that, when expressed in human form, has frequencies that humans put names to, like compassion, trust, courage, patience? These frequencies of love expressed in human form are the divine virtues. Imagine the divine virtues as the individual energetic notes in the profound and grand musical chord that is divine love. So, what if you come into body so that you might practice your energetic scales, just as a singer trains by practicing their musical scales? Your soul wishes to express the fullest music of its true nature through you. Sometimes these divine virtues, these gems or facets of the love that is your soul, are forged in the furnace of adversity. Yet, you will learn that this need not always be the case. You will learn that you can embrace proactively polishing these facets of the precious gem that you are, so life no longer needs to do it for you. It all starts with openness. Openness to the possibility that all that you have experienced and are experiencing has deep meaning. Openness to the possibility that spiritual gold can be mined from even the most challenging experiences. I'm going to ask you more questions now, and I want you to remember to really feel into them, asking yourself these questions from your heart and not your mind. Can you be open to letting go of the stories you have about your life? Can you be open to seeing your experiences from a new vantage point, the frame of reference of your soul? Can you be open to letting go of any victim consciousness that you may be clinging to, and instead embrace and surrender to the true power of the love and light that you are and that all beings are? Can you feel how your soul yearns for even the slightest opening in you to come rushing through with its love and wisdom? Feel the knowingness that answers all of these questions deep within your heart now. So, gently bringing this sense of deep connection and sacred purpose with you, we'll begin coming back into fully alert, awake awareness as I count from 1 to 10, opening your eyes at the count of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, coming more fully into your physical body of today. 8, coming more fully into your physical body of today. 9, coming more fully into your physical body of today. And 10, coming fully into your physical body of today. Eyes open, awake, alert, conscious, and clear.
Thank you. That was a very deep dive for a call like this. Thank you for I can tell why you've done a lot of hypnotic regression work. It's really take us in there deep. So maybe you can share a little bit about how best to work with whatever emerges for folks from a journey like that.
In regard to the divine virtues that the meditation talks about, the value there is that when you know which virtues you're trying to cultivate through your pre-planned challenges, it has the effect of assigning deeper meaning to those experiences. And that is really, really important for a couple of reasons. One is that when something challenging happens, there's a very natural, understandable human tendency to feel victimized. Victimized by life, God, the universe, all of the above. Victim consciousness is literally the lowest vibration or frequency a human being can be at. And it tends to be self-perpetuating because when you believe that you're a victim, you vibrate at the frequency of victim. When you vibrate at the frequency of victim, you are energetically stating to the universe that you're a victim. Well, whatever energetic statement you make to the universe, it always responds in exactly the same way. It always responds by saying, yes, that's right, you are. So if you state energetically to the universe that you're a victim, the universe says, yes, you are, and it brings you more experiences that seem on the surface to confirm to you that you are, in fact, a victim. The way to break out of that negative self-perpetuating cycle is to understand that you are the courageous soul who planned the challenges so that you could cultivate and express the virtues. That will pull you out of victim consciousness immediately. Then, by knowing which virtues you're working on, you simply say to yourself, okay, with this new challenge that I'm faced with, how can I work with it skillfully and lovingly in order to cultivate and express the virtues I know that I'm working on? And so you can go about cultivating those virtues in a much more conscious and much less painful and much less arduous manner.
There's a great analogy that the beings of light have shared that essentially we're all, as individuals, on a pathway within ourselves to becoming a diamond. We're in this process of internal restructuring into the most cohesive, coherent form of ourselves. And it's really up to us whether that occurs through external pressure or an internal coalescence. So if you think about how a diamond is actually formed, you take this lump of coal and you put intense pressure on it, and eventually all those carbon molecules rearrange themselves into the most efficient, effective, coherent form that is then translucent to the light. And on a spiritual level, that is what is happening to all of us as individuals. So you can either allow life to exert that pressure on you, or you can begin to pull in and create that restructuring on your own, and you will not feel that intensity of pressure from the external.
Well, a lot of this makes sense, and just curious, like, how do you approach things where it's not just a personal experience of being a victim, or that there are, genuinely oppressive regimes where people are persecuted for their race or their member of political class, and so just a little bit of like just reflecting on. So, how do you hold some of those situations that seem to really transcend our individual agency, if you will?
Well, in my research for my books, I haven't looked at political oppression specifically, but I'll answer by talking about something that's another large-scale event. You'll remember a number of years ago, there was a tsunami that hit Southeast Asia, and about 100,000 people were killed. I've researched that, and what I was told by Spirit is that those 100,000 souls got together before any of them incarnated, and they essentially said, we would like the Earth to be at a certain vibration by a certain point in linear time. And if it looks like the Earth is not going to get there, then we agree to give our lives in a large-scale natural disaster, because we know the result of that will be a worldwide outpouring of love and compassion. And you might remember that is exactly what happened. You had all the governments of the world temporarily put aside their differences to funnel aid into Southeast Asia. So, there's an old saying, where you stand depends upon where you sit. This is a good example of that. If where you sit is in the third dimension as a human being, then where you stand on the tsunami is that it was a terrible tragedy. And from a human perspective, surely it was. But if where you sit is in a higher dimension as, say, a spirit guide, then where you stand on the tsunami is that it was a great blessing for humanity. So there you have two diametrically opposed viewpoints, and yet both are correct from the perspective of the observer.
So kind of, in some ways, it sounds like we're part of a cultivation of a collective divine virtue. Then we can sometimes offer ourselves as part of a sacrifice that helps to cultivate that divine virtue.
I think that that's a good way of putting it, except that I think if you were to talk to any of those 100,000 souls, they would not use the word sacrifice. They look at it as a gift that they gave to the world, and that a gift was given to them. I don't think they look at it as a sacrifice.
Fascinating perspective. Fascinating. Well, you two just really have so much great insight into the nature of reality. So anything else that you just kind of feel like we haven't gotten to cover yet today that you really wanted to bring forward as a key takeaway?
Well, I think for me, the big takeaway in regard to pre-birth planning is for everybody to know just how incredibly courageous you are to be here on Earth. There are many, many beings who know that Earth is a fantastic school, one of the best schools anywhere in the universe, but they don't have the courage to come here. The fact that you are here in a body on Earth at this time, or at any time for that matter, automatically places you among the most courageous beings in the entire universe. So I would say to everybody listening to this, honor and respect yourselves for having the tremendous courage it takes to come here, and honor and respect everyone else for having that same tremendous courage.
Beautiful. Well, I want to spend a little time talking about how people can go further into your work now. And normally I mentioned right up front that we have a brand new program. I forgot to do that because I wanted to dive right in with Rob and Liesl here. But we do have a brand new program coming up with Rob and Liesl. And so it really does provide an opportunity for you to take some inspiration that you feel here today, or some new openings of concepts and seeing yourself and some of what's unfolded in your life as a more intentional journey. So the program is going to be called Awakening to the Spiritual Purpose of the Life You Planned Before Birth. Find meaning in your pre-birth plan to cultivate greater acceptance, peace, and happiness. You can find it laid out in detail at the URL soulregressioncourse.com. It's going to be a 7-week journey, and it really is going to give you an opportunity to take this and dive deeper into it, to make it a lived reality. Take this as a portal into your own soul knowing that you can then express in how you live your life. So I'd love for you, Robin and Liesl, for you to share in your own words about this journey, why take the journey with you, and then I can read out the module titles and you can give a little bit of a preview of what's coming in each.
I think the main reason to take this journey is that it will give you a lot of insight into what you planned, why you made those plans, how you're doing in terms of fulfilling your plan, and how you can better fulfill your plan. And in regard to your challenges, both past and present, it will give you a lot of insight into why you yourself scripted those experiences before you were born. So as we talked about earlier, it will help you to emerge from victim consciousness if that's where you're at. And for everyone, regardless of whether that's where you're at or not, it will help you see profound, deeper meaning and purpose in your most difficult experiences, and that makes them a lot easier to go through. There's really nothing more difficult than suffering that appears to be meaningless, but I can assure you none of your suffering ever has been or ever will be meaningless, and in this course, we'll find out what the meaning is.
I would just like to add, it's a powerful way to invoke that new pathway to your diamond essence, to the diamond structuring of yourself. So we're going to show you a roadmap, so to speak, how to do that internal restructuring so that you don't feel all of that pressure of life bearing down on you to make the restructuring into the diamond.
Love it. Well, Module 1 is called How Pre-Birth Plans Are Used for Soul Growth.
We're going to start with learning some more about the beings of light and learning this wonderful analogy that they have given for how your vibration relates to all of these possible or potential life plans, and how you can really start to shift so that you're starting to invoke these higher vibrational life plans. And then at the end of this session, there's a fabulous meditation that they have channeled that connects you to the earth, connects you to the higher realms, and helps balance all of your chakras in the process. So this is a great meditation that you can go back to time and time again.
Module 2, How Your Life Challenges Cultivate Your Divine Virtues.
So there's something I created that I call the Divine Virtues exercise. It's a very analytic process that by the time you're done with it, you should have a very good idea of which divine virtues you're working on. The average person is working on 2 or 3 in a lifetime. Occasionally somebody is working on 4 or 5. As far as I know, nobody is working on more than 5. That would be too much for anyone to take on. But by the time you're done with the Divine Virtues exercise, you should know which 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 you're working on. And as we talked about a few moments ago, once you know that, then anytime a new challenge comes along, instead of feeling victimized or instead of seeing it as meaningless, random, arbitrary suffering, you could just say to yourself, okay, I know I'm in this incarnation to cultivate and express whatever it might be, patience, empathy, unconditional love. Knowing that, how can I work with this new challenge to cultivate and express those virtues? So it immediately assigns deeper meaning to the challenge, and then you can go about cultivating and expressing the virtues in a much more conscious manner.
Module 3, establish a deep connection with your higher self.
So again, in this module will be another meditation shared from the beings of light, and this is going to take you on a deep journey within to get and establish that real strong connection with your higher self, because that's the launching point to connecting with all of these loving beings in unity consciousness.
Module 4, the Divine Virtues Deep Dive.
This is also information channeled from the beings of light about the master key divine virtues. So there are some divine virtues that can lead really effortlessly to the cultivation of many other divine virtues. And at the end of this session will be, again, another meditation that builds on the previous meditation of connecting with your higher self. And now you're going to take a current challenge in your life with you to the higher self and invoke the help and guidance of the higher self on creative solutions for that in your life and how you can cultivate these master key divine virtues further in your life.
Module 5, penetrating the veil, contacting a deceased loved one regression.
So in this regression, we take you back to the other side, so to speak, and you make contact with one or more loved ones who are on the other side, including possibly one or more pets who are back on the other side. And there are several reasons we do this. One is just so you can reconnect with your loved ones and feel and know that they are well and thriving on the other side. But there's another reason, which is that if the form the contact with your loved ones takes is telepathic or verbal, then you have an opportunity to ask them any questions you have about your life plan with them. So sometimes people come back with great information about why these people or these pets were in their life, what kind of spiritual meaning and purpose was served by that relationship.
Great. Module 6, connecting with beings in love light form.
This is another meditation channeled from the beings of light, and you're going to go really deep in this one and connect through that portal of your higher self to many different forms of love light beings that might emerge, masters, guides, collective energies that wish to be in contact with you. And it's really a very powerful and profound experience, an immersion, a soul immersion, as the beings of light call it.
And finally, Module 7, connecting to your current incarnate self throughout your lifetime.
This is going to be another journey from the beings of light where you're going to establish connections with both your past and your future selves in this current incarnation. So to be clear, we're not talking about past lives. We're talking about this current incarnation for you, connecting throughout time and space to get more of a cohesion, more of a coalescence of all of the learning that you have undergone in this lifetime. And we'll learn to send energy back in time to help yourself during your greatest challenges. And we'll also learn how to receive help from your future self that's an even more diamond-like version of you so that you can receive that love and wisdom from who you are going to grow into.
Well, it's clearly going to be quite a beautiful adventure at the frontiers of consciousness and our own soul evolution. So thank you both for creating it. I'll share a little bit more about it on the high level. So you can find the full program laid out in detail at soulregressioncourse.com, soulregressioncourse.com. So not only do you get the 7 90-minute live sessions with Rob and Liesl, which includes interactive time and Q&A time, you're going to get recordings, both video and audio of every session, as well as word-for-word transcripts to work with, study, and highlight. You're going to have Facebook community group to support you and deepen your experience. You're also going to have some great bonuses you can see laid out on the page. There's The Love That You and All Are, 3 written channeled messages from the beings of light. There's a PDF excerpt from Your Soul's Love, which is a book by Rob Schwartz there. And then a 20% discount on actually all of Rob's books, which is an exclusive savings code, so you can really add all of these books to your library. Plus, if you sign up by midnight tonight, there's an extra incentive to do so. We've actually bundled together 5 of our favorite sessions from the Beyond the Veil Summit, which is really looking at communication beyond the veil, the existence of life after death, and really making a bridge between the other side and this side. And so that's going to include selected recordings and transcripts from the 2021 summit, which is really the preeminent summit in the world online for these kinds of things. So you can see that laid out in detail on the page. So it's going to be a really fascinating program with a lot of deep value for your life. We've kept the investment really accessible. It's just 3 payments of $109, so you save 10% when you pay in full with 1 payment of $297. The course is going to start on March 3rd and run Thursdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings and the community and the transcripts and really the practices and meditations that you can keep coming back to over time. So they're really raving reviews from graduates. I loved Rob and Liesl, delightful teachers, generous in sharing their time and knowledge, masterful instructors. So you can see some of the testimonials from previous students on the page there, really get a feeling for what lies ahead of you if you choose to join. So again, you can find all the details at soulregressioncourse.com. And if you are curious and want to lean in, you've got an extra incentive to do so when you sign up by midnight tonight. And that's the 5 sessions from the Beyond the Veil Summit. So Rob and Liesl, we're nearing the end of our time together. Just anything else you want to share, just takeaway moments, and just for folks who also are curious about going further with you in this journey.
Well, I think the takeaway is that through this course, you'll figure out the deeper spiritual meaning and purpose of your life, and in particular, your biggest challenges. This pre-birth planning perspective is something that historically was restricted to the so-called mystery schools, but it's now gone mainstream as part of the Ascension Process, and that's what we're here to do, is to help people access this kind of wisdom to greatly improve the quality of their lives.
Yes, and the beings of light are just so yearning to work with all of you to open more fully to the truth of who you are, which is that divine love, and to really come to know yourself in the way that they know you, which is as divine love. So we really hope that you join us, and we're excited about this journey.
Well, thank you for that warm invitation and just your generosity of spirit. It's really clear you are committed to put these teachings you've received from this work into practice and really serve humanity at the highest level. So thank you both for all you do, and thank you for the offer of this upcoming program, which again is called Awakening to the Spiritual Purpose of the Life You Planned Before Birth. And everyone can get registered at soulregressioncourse.com. So thank you all for joining, and looking forward to more blessings on the journey. Bye now.